Hello and welcome. In today's video we're going to be talking about categories and gradings of the Espire range. We're also going to be looking at the batteries that are associated with each individual detector. So just before we get into the nitty-gritty of the regulations, we need to let you know that 5839 Part 6 is what we look to use when we install these particular products. But Tim, they need to comply to a set of regulations, a product standard, don't they? So what's the regulations that they comply to?
Yeah, well there's a whole series, Jake, of product standards that relate to smoke, heat, and CO and other means of detection, and they're typically found within the EN54 series. That is common across Europe, and all manufacturers would conform to. And then there's a separate British standard that relates to heat alarms that we also hoover up, and that all of these devices would then be type tested by a third-party certification body.
So you can actually see as well on the back of the products, it's going to tell you exactly where we have that testing from. We have absolutely done all of the due diligence on all of the products when it comes to testing, and we've made sure that they're to the highest level when it comes to testing in terms of third-party accreditation as well.
Absolutely correct.
So let's have a look then, Tim, into 5839 Part 6. Let's talk about the grades first.
Yeah.
So we mentioned that we've got all the products. We've got a D1, D2 and F1.
That's correct.
And what do those mean?
Well, the grades of system, shall we say, help us select appropriate types of detection and alarm. And so typically within a domestic installation, you're going to be functioning with a grade D system, hardwired, or if you haven't got the hardwiring, a grade F system. And what we've done within the standard is separate out those devices that are hardwired battery or replaceable battery. And so a D1, Jake, has a hardwired battery that's not removable, but it has a 10-year guarantee attached. Or you then have a D2, which is replaceable battery.
Okay.
An F1 would similarly be a hardwired battery.
Okay, so it's not tamper-proof. Nobody can gain access.
That's it.
To the battery. And again, there's situations where you might need to install some of those. Maybe you're just trying to upgrade your system.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on where you are in the UK as to where you're going to be putting these particular products. So that's the grading of it. Then we've covered all of the bases. We've got, as Tim mentioned there, D1, D2 and F1 products to fit within those particular areas of grades.
Yeah.
Now the other thing that we need to think about is the categories.
Yeah. If you're thinking about the nature of designing a fire detection and fire alarm system, you have to think about the category of system that you're selecting. And then you have to think about which part of the UK you're going to be designing and installing to, whether it be England and Wales, Scotland or Northern Ireland. They all have just slightly different requirements insofar as building regulations and other legislation that might apply. So for example, Jake, in England and Wales, we operate under approved document B, which is a document that gives us minimum guidance. And so we're working with an LD3 minimum requirement for domestic installations, whereas in Scotland, they have something called a tolerable standard. And there they require a minimum of an LD2 system.
Okay, so it's very important that if you are watching this video and you're looking to design a system, make sure you look at your local standards to you. So we've mentioned the gradings, and Tim just very briefly there mentioned what the LD 1, 2 and 3 stands for, but we actually don't know what they mean. So Tim, can you just elaborate a little bit as to what they actually mean?
Yeah, let's start at the bottom one, the LD3. An LD3 system simply says that you put in a means of detection in circulation spaces. What this means in a domestic dwelling would be is certainly you'd have one in the entrance hallway, and typically you would then have it at the top of the stairs in close proximity to bedrooms. And so an LD3 system is a minimum that you can get away with if you've got a two-storey premises, and that's fine. And you would typically put in then either 2 smoke alarms or 2 multi-sensors containing smoke alarm. Okay. An LD2 system expands that, breathes out a wee bit and says, well, we also want one in the most commonly used habitable space, and that's typically taken as the living room, and also a heat alarm then in the kitchen. And so it's sort of it's just expanded itself a wee bit further. And an LD1 system simply says we'd like them all over the place except for toilets, bathrooms and the like. And so the LD1 system, A, is the most expensive, but it's the most comprehensive.
So would I be right in thinking that you could move the heat, or you could move the smoke detectors around depending on what's the most habitable room? Is that down to a designer? Is that somebody that would look at it and go, actually, I'm taking that from there to there because I know that's going to be used more?
Yeah, it is one of those things that you have to think about carefully, quite simply because whilst most fires occur, for example, in a kitchen, most deaths from fire start from a living room. And so you think about an LD2 system in those ways. So that's why they generally go living room, let's put a smoke alarm in there.
Okay. So we've covered quite a bit there. We've looked at the gradings of the detectors, we've looked at the categories and some of the batteries that are associated with particular detectors. In the next video, Tim, we're going to be going through the interconnection of detectors and look at some of the use cases that we can see there. Don't forget, like, subscribe and share, and we'll see you on the next one.